Hello and welcome to Eva's House of Spirit. I'm Eva, and today I'm coming to you from my kitchen. Um, Sorry for the lack of a beautiful background. I kind of have a lot to do tonight, so I thought I would just skip that whole setup and just keep it real. I'm just coming to you real, okay? Um, Tonight's video is going to be sort of not like a meditation, but sort of like a batting around of thoughts, so to speak. Recently I was in the store and I was actually at my job, as a matter of fact, but I was off the clock. And I work at a Marshall's and I saw a bowl and I was very drawn to this bowl. It's not like I had a use necessarily in mind for the bowl, but there was something about this bowl. It felt spiritual. It felt powerful, and I didn't know quite why. So I bought the bowl. And I have it here, so let me show you what bowl I'm talking about. The bowl is this really beautiful bowl. I don't know if you can see, but it almost looks like, it looks handmade. It still has the stickers on, but it looks handmade, and it's a really big, really nice sized bowl. I mean, it's good sized bowl, very earthy, and I was just drawn to this bowl. I mean, it's just the most beautiful bowl. If you look, you can just see like it has amazing craftsmanship. And I'm just showing you like in the light, the sculpted surface almost of it. It's like wow. So I was drawn to this bowl, and I didn't know why. So I started thinking, and one thing I was sure of was that this bowl, there was something spiritual about this bowl. So I started thinking about bowls, which got me kind of thinking about vessels and spirituality. And I began to kind of realize that this whole concept of vessels and spirituality, this is something that is very, very, I think, ingrained in the collective unconscious. There are many ancient cultures. If you look around, in archaeological documentaries and just various books and resources, you will find, as I have found, excuse me, you will find, as I have found, that many cultures, many ancient cultures would use like baskets, bowls, pots, vases. A lot of times it was pottery. And they would use these often in not just their mundane life, but also in their spirituality. So I began thinking, and, I began to sort of consciously equate bowls with the concept of like the Holy Grail. And what led me there is, if you read The Charge of the Goddess, there is a part that, forgive me, I can't quote it off the top of my head, but there is a line in there somewhere. It's something like, mine is the cauldron and the cup of life the holy grail of immortality. There's a line something like that in there. Don't quote, like, don't think that's the exact quote, because I'm remembering off the top of my head, and I may have phrased that a little wrong. But I remember the mention of the symbolism of the Holy Grail in the charge of the goddess. And I know that many will equate the Holy Grail with the cup that caught the blood of Christ at the crucifixion. But the Holy Grail, in my, to my feeling, is in a sense a womb, just as all vessels are symbolic of the womb. You know, whether they be bowls, cauldrons, chalices, jars, pots, bottles, boxes, pouches, bags, baskets, what have you, vessels. They're symbolic of womb, of the mother and the nurturer. They're symbolic of, the place of creation and the act of creation. But there's also other associations there too. The basket is, the gathering, the harvest. What else was I going to say? I had another thought right on the tip of my mind. Oh, and bowls. You eat out of bowls. So bowls, in a sense, they're not just symbolic of the womb that creates life, but they're symbolic of an act that sustains life, eating, feeding people, nourishing the community and the family, the children, oneself, everyone. It's symbolic of eating and feeding. So, yeah, my thoughts were kind of on these concepts, and I wanted to share this with you. I was thinking, a lot of paths, they will have certain tools that they tend to work with a lot. And in Wicca, now there's variations depending on what denomination you belong to, but there are variations. Usually, though, generally, the four main elemental tools, you have the chalice, the pentacle, the wand, and the athame. And then there are other secondary tools, but the main tools, they're symbolic of the elements, and there are, some people use, things like a bowl for their salt or a bottle for their salt, something to hold their salt, and something for water. And a lot of people will use, for example, maybe an offering dish. But I feel like one tool, if one is drawn to using tools, that might be beneficial to include in one's personal array of tools, is the bowl. I know a lot of witches use the cauldron, a lot of witches use the chalice, a lot of witches will use, boxes or mojo bags, or jars, various other vessels. But there is something so human, I feel like it's so part of us, just the symbol of the bowl. There's something it's just, when I touch this bowl, it gives me a sense of roots. Not just, my direct, very, close roots of my family, not just the roots of my nationality or that sort of thing. I'm talking old roots, human roots, okay? All peoples began as one people, and we gradually moved out into the world, out from the cradle of civilization. There were migrations of people, and people became different as they adapted to the different places they went, and then gradually through history, then the nations and the groups changed and became very specific as they developed in different areas of the world. But I'm talking about those human roots, the roots that tie us all together. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what specific nationality you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care anything. Like, it doesn't matter. You're human. You're alive. You have those same roots. And when I hold this bowl, I feel a sense of, I just feel that connection to those very old roots. Sadly, though, this bowl, it has a sticker on the bottom. It says that this is not for food use. So I can only use this for other things. Maybe there's something in maybe the varnish or the wood or something in the process of the creation of this bowl. It was made more to be decorative. It's not safe to put food in here. I do want to buy myself, though, a nice bowl that food can be eaten out of. But I still feel so drawn to this bowl. There's something about this bowl. And though I don't have a specific use for this bowl yet, so far I just generally, when I do various magical things around my house, I tend to scatter little things around my house. So you'll find, like, as you walk through my home, there'll be like a bottle of oil over here, and like a thing of glitter over there, and like some herbs over there, and like a tarot card left on the coffee table. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just scatter all my stuff throughout the house. It just kind of happens. I use things and then they'll just kind of hang out. So when it comes time to pick up, I'll usually take my big bowl and I'll gather all the little things into the big bowl, and I'll just keep them all together, and then I'll put the bowl away, and then I'll empty it out and put everything where it belongs. But I feel that I've been using this bowl as a gathering tool to gather, little elements together that need to be kept, together for my working. And it's very domestic. I mean, it seems so mundane. Oh, I use this to collect things that I leave around when I do my spiritual work, but I don't feel that it's mundane. It's a domestic act. We all clean our homes. It's a domestic act. And I think something so simple, you can turn the domestic act of cleaning your house or making a meal or anything like that. Caring for the children, whatever you do, even if you're, you don't have to be in the very, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't have to be in a very stereotypically yin, domestic role of, that people tend to equate, the caregiving of the children and the cooking and stuff. They tend to equate that with women. Not to say that men can't do those things, but that's a very yin sort of role domestically. But even if you're in the yang role and you do the more domestic things like repairing the house, as it, needs, or, a lot of times the men will generally, and again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive, or I don't mean to be like sexist in any way, but a lot of people do equate like the yard work, the house maintenance, things like that, with the male sort of domestic role, the yang. But it doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter. Even acts like that can be acts of sacred reverence. Even I feel now. I'm sorry if I'm rambling and going off topic a little bit, but I really do believe that even something as simple as washing the dishes or sweeping the floor can be a moment of like reverence, of zen, of meditation, of connection. You are doing something that people have done for like millions of years. Okay, people have always cleaned their dwellings. People have always cooked. People have always, done various domestic things. And I feel that when we are at our most domestic, we are at our most spiritual, if that makes sense. We are in touch with our roots the most. And I wanted to go back to the concept of talking about sacred vessels. I think it kind of, when you really start to think about containers, sacred vessels that symbolize womb, mother, nurturer, creation, life, sustenance of life, if that's the way that I should be saying it. I'm sorry, it's a little late. And so on and so forth. When you think of these concepts, you start to realize that when you use vessels in your magical and spiritual work, what you are creating within your vessels, it's almost like a symbolic pregnancy. You are creating something. And when the magic or the effect of what you are doing takes place, in a sense, you have given birth to something. This is very, very, very profound. And I really think that maybe we should kind of meditate on this. I think this is something that maybe it's occurred to some of you, maybe for others of you, maybe it hasn't quite come to the fore of your mind until this very moment. But I really feel that as human beings, there are certain simple concepts, ideas, associations, that if we open ourselves to these very core things, maybe our spiritual journeys will be all the more enriched. What else did I want to say? Oh, when I was also thinking about sacred vessels, I even got to thinking of things like Tibetan singing bowls. Now these use sound vibrations, and usually they're used for healing or for aligning the chakras, or they can be used in other ways for the benefit and betterment of the self and others. And I thought that was, the concept of a singing bowl, it's just as powerful as the concept of a vessel that we use to hold something, to create something. Whether it's, the pot on your stove that you're, stirring the soup and you're making that soup to feed your family, like whether it's that, or in this singing bowl, you're creating, when you make the song of the bowl. Sorry, I don't know the term for the little, I don't know if you would call that like a wand, or what you would call that little thing that you go around the edge of the bowl. I'm sorry, I don't own a singing bowl. But you know how they go around the edge of the bowl, or some people will even wet their fingers or whatever, or they'll use a little, it's almost like a baton or something that comes with the bowl. I don't know the formal name, and if you know the name, please put it in the comments so in the future I don't sound like an idiot. So I know what to say when someone, when I get on that subject of that little thing. Tell me, what is that thing? Do you have a bowl? Tell me, what is that thing called? My point being, when you go around the bowl, when the song is created from the bowl, you're creating a vibration of energy. So that is, in a sense, the bowl is pregnant with that energy, and then that energy goes forth, it gives birth, you give birth, and the bowl gives birth, to that energy. If that makes sense, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Like, it is still a sacred vessel, and there is still something being formed within that vessel, albeit for a shorter period of time, because you kind of hear that sound rather suddenly. So when the sound moves out from that bowl, that it's like giving birth to healing, giving birth to beneficial energy. So I think for right now, I'm going to stop this video. I will probably delve into this topic in the future some more and related topics. This is just like, again, this was just me batting around some thoughts, some ideas. I wanted to talk about this bowl that I was drawn to. I really feel that there is something inherent in all human beings. You know, we have certain, I don't even know how to say it. It's our, there's this the concept of the bowl, the womb, and all this kind of stuff. This is, I feel like this harkens back to a spirituality that is so old, so old, and I think that everyone has this in common. I don't care what path you are from. We all can, I think, connect to this sort of concept. And correct me if I'm wrong, or if you don't think I'm right. Let me know what you think. Um, Also, let me know your thoughts on this general subject. How do you feel about bowls, chalices, boxes, sacred vessels? If you'd like to share a story or stories about, for example, how I told you I was drawn to this bowl and I took it home and, I sort of have that domestic connection with my bowl. Well, I would love to hear if you have, let's say, a jar, a bottle, a bowl, anything, a cauldron, something that kind of, you have that connection with. And if, even things like teacups, when, I'm sorry, not to interrupt what I was just saying, but my mind just like totally like went somewhere else. Teacup divination just occurred to me. The teacup is a vessel as well. And I was thinking, what if we could somehow use a bowl instead of a teacup for that, like a nice big ceramic bowl? I wonder. Sorry, my mind just kind of off in another direction. It just kind of went in another direction. But again, it's late. I apologize. So yes, I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on this topic. Speaking about sacred vessels and the roots of humanity, and I hope this has at least inspired you. Again, I'd like to delve deeper into this. These were just some kind of like thoughts and feelings that I've kind of been batting around on my own, and I thought maybe I would share them with you. Maybe this could open up a dialogue. But I do feel that sacred vessels, they carry a very, I don't know if this is the right way to express it, ancient gravity and deep rooted sacredness. And I think that everyone can relate to this. Every single human being, regardless what you believe or practice. So, until our next exchange, blessed be and ashe.